was that sinner, wasting my life. Without a purpose, I had no direction, and no hope in life. Then I cried for mercy. Could somebody help me? And just then I knew that Jesus came through and saved my grace. Covered by mercy, crushed by the cross. Though my sins were scarlet, Jesus washed them whiter than snow. There on the cross, He took my place. He cried and said, now I am free forever safe. Mercy and grace. Covered by mercy, crushed by the cross. Though my sins were scarlet, Jesus washed them whiter than snow. There on the cross, He took my place. He cried and said, my sins and my pain. Now we are free forever safe. Mercy and grace. Now we are free forever safe. Mercy and grace. Mercy and grace. Mercy and grace. Hope is something as important to us as water is to a fish.
As vital as electricity is to a light bulb, as essential as air is to a jumbo jet.
Hope is that basic to life.
We cannot stay on the road to anticipated dreams without it. At least not very far. Many have tried, none successfully. Without that needed spark of hope, we are doomed to a dark, grim existence. Take away our hope, and our world is reduced to something between depression and despair.
There once was a man who loved the sea, rugged.
Strong-willed, passionate, and expressive.
He did nothing half-heartedly. When it came to fishing, he was determined and sometimes obnoxious.
But he was loyal when it came to friendship. Loyal to the core.
Blindly courageous and overconfident.
Which occasionally caused him to overstate his commitment. But there he stood, alone if necessary.
Making promises with his mouth that his body would later be unable to keep.
As you may have realized by now, that man's name was Peter. Not just one of the 12, but the spokesman for the 12.
Whether they liked it or not.
Once he decided to follow Christ, there was no turning back. As the time passed, he became all the more committed to Master, a devoted and stubborn-minded disciple whose loyalty knew no bounds.
Ultimately, however, his commitment was put to the test. Jesus had warned him that Satan was hot on his heels, working overtime to trip him up.
But Peter was unmoved.
His response? Luke 22:33 says, Lord, I'm ready to go with these both into prison and to death.
Jesus didn't buy it. He answered in verse 24.
Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before that thou shalt twice deny that thou knowest me.
Though that prediction must have stung, Peter pushed it aside, self-assured and overly confident that
It would never happen.
wrong.
That very night, Jesus' words turned to reality. The loyal, strong-hearted, and courageous Peter failed his Lord.
Deliberately and openly, he denied that he was one of the 12. Not once or twice, but 3 times, back to back. He turned on the one who was lustful enough to warn him. The result, Luke 22:61-62 says, and the Lord turned and looked upon Peter. And Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said unto him,
Before the cock crows, thou shalt deny me thrice.
Peter went out and wept bitterly.
No longer loyal and strong.
Far from courageous and committed, the man was suddenly reduced to heaving sobs.
What guilt he bore.
Emotionally, he plunged through rock bottom, caught in a grip of hopelessness. The effect on Peter was shattering. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see the face of Jesus, staring at him as if asking,
How could you be? Why would you?
that look.
Those words. The man was haunted for days.
The Savior's subsequent death by crucifixion must have felt like a nail being driven into Peter's heart.
The one thing he needed to carry him on was gone.
Gone forever.
He thought. Hope. Until that glorious resurrection day, the first Easter morn, we read not only of Jesus' miraculous bodily resurrection from the dead, but also those great words of grace in Mark 16:7. But go your way, tell his disciples, and Peter.
The significance of those two words cannot be overstated. They introduce hope into the old fisherman's life, the one essential ingredient without which he could otherwise not recover. Upon hearing of his Savior's resurrection, and also his Savior's concern that he especially be given the message, Peter had hope beyond his failure. Because of that, he could go on.
Maybe you find yourself more than ever in need of hope.
Solid, stable, sure hope.
Then look to Christ. Through his wonderful grace, he has the ability to make something beautiful and good out of lives littered with the debris words we never should have said.
And these we never should have done. Because of Christ, we can hope again.
He has given us hope to go on.
Even though we have failed and lost. And hope